My name's Ed, and this is my Lotus 116 GT3 Widebody Project, also called a VX220 or an Opel Speedster. I guess it depends which country you're from. The origins of this car are a German Speedster 2.2 litre naturally aspirated car, which was wrecked and I salvaged the chassis from. And all the parts I salvaged out of a VX220 turbo, which I brought over from the UK. That said, most of the other parts have all been sourced independently or just made from scratch. So it's a bit hard to really say what this car is. At the end of the day, it looks like a GT3 Exige, but it's got a 30mm longer wheelbase due to the VX220 chassis underlining the whole thing. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff bolted onto it, which makes it all a little bit unique. I'll just do a quick walk around. This is my first time doing a talking video, and I don't have the editing software to make anything fancy out of it, so one take wonder is what you're going to get. I guess we'll start here. This is an A20 NFT motor. Basically, it's out of an Astra, was it VXR? The OPC GTC Astra J. Basically, it's a 2.0 litre turbo dual VVTi direct injection donk with an EFR, borne EFR turbo that makes standard between 280 and 300 horsepower and a shit ton of torque. But it's really quite nice. With a chip and a tune, you can get this thing making 320, 340 horsepower pretty lazily. The rods and things all give up around 400 horsepower, and the Americans, I think with a Saturn in the US, the Saturn boys have played with these and they get about 400 horsepower before they start upgrading fuel pumps and rods and pistons and things. 400 horsepower for 800 kilos of car, though, I think will get me out of trouble or into trouble. So we're just going to start off with basically a crate engine. It's using parts which are salvaged from a Europa S, a 2006 Lotus Europa S. These engine mounts, these bastards are things which basically grow on, I can't think, they don't grow on anything, they're rare as fuck. These mounts, along with the drive shafts and the engine mounts, are parts only available from a Europa S, and Europa S's are already pretty thin on the ground, and then finding parts from salvaged cars is another massive pain in the ass. So I was pretty happy when I found some unicorn pieces to put this thing together, and allowed me to basically drop a 2011 VXR motor into a Lotus chassis using otherwise off-the-shelf standard parts, standard drive shafts, standard gearbox mounts, etc. Just a bit of luck. At the moment, I'm still using the standard turbo. I've actually got another turbo here, which I had high-flowed in Australia. That's sitting there. That's going to be a replacement unit with a significantly bigger compressor wheel and a reworked exhaust turbine wheel, new compressor housing on the inside, etc. But for the time being, standard turbo, 3.5 inch dump pipe, probably the shortest exhaust system I could ever imagine. We've got a BMW 140 muffler attached to that with a standard, I think it's about 3-inch inlet and twin 65mm outlets. They should handle 400 horsepower quite happily. I'm using a water-to-air intercooler system. You can see the intercooler core down here. This is actually out of a 996 turbo. I believe this is an Australian piece. I can't remember. But basically, this should be about a 600 horsepower capable intercooler system. So it's dual 3-inch inlet-outlet core, running a 25mm closed fluid circuit. I've actually repurposed the original air-to-air intercooler core here to become a water-to-air intercooler, and it actually got quite a large volume to it. The internal volume of this is quite large, and down here it's all being driven by a Davies Craig 115 water pump, which moves an absolute torrent of water. So if we're going to use cooling capabilities or correlate cooling capabilities to fluid flow. This thing's going to expel an awful lot of heat, or hopefully will expel an awful lot of heat. It's pretty big from the back of the car. I'm running 10-inch ATS GTR wheels with 265 rubber on some pretty massive spacers. So I think they're about, from memory, it's a 65mm spacer. Bringing these out so you can see the limit of the original VX220 bodywork. It's coming a good, what's that, 40mm, 50mm, no more, 60mm over the original bodywork. It's probably 120, 140mm bigger or wider track than standard. Probably the, what do we got here? Using Nitron Pro 46 shocks with remote reservoirs. I've mounted everything as low as possible. Experimenting with race capture systems, data logger with some linear potentiometers here. Actually salvaged these from the tailgate sensors of a Mercedes. Got these mounted on all four corners, which will give me some suspension movement data. Latest project, which I'm pretty happy with, is this full underfloor diffuser. Don't know if this is going to come up particularly well in this video. Can't really see it, but it's 28-degree exit angle diffuser divided into 3 main channels, which is completely flat with the base of the floor. It extends about 2 meters up the guts of the car to blend with the panels underneath the fuel tank. And the position of the exit of the diffuser I've made with the wing so that we're actually utilizing the negative pressure generation from the underside of the wing to help pump that diffuser. So I know there's a lot of skepticism probably about a 28-degree exit angle to the diffuser, but pretty happy with the transition under the floor, the rate of curvature, and also the combination with the negative pressure zone on the underside of this enormous wing should move the air without massive separation off the tip of the back of the diffuser. I guess it's something to be seen. Latest thing, this is the biggest pain in the ass for the last week or two, is getting this cage in. If you've got any experience with these, you know that these cages, or the standard cages out of the Lotus, are a bolt-in affair. They've got a single hoop that goes over the top. These 2 legs bolt in separately, so you can basically assemble the interior parts of the car and the exterior parts all then just bolt up in a sequential fashion. This being one piece is a massive pain in the ass. And to add to the headache, the whole thing is actually mounted some 60 degrees further back from the original mounting position. So the entire cage sits further rearwards, which makes clearance on my firewall incredibly narrow. You can't actually get between this harness bar and the firewall. There's absolutely no space in there anymore. I can just get the straps for the harnesses between the bar and the actual firewall carpet, so it all gets very tight. But in is in. I just got the Sikaflex into this and got it all buttoned up the other day, so that's all in and dusted. Worked out pretty good. It doesn't make it any less of a comedy getting in and out of the car. Fortunately, the aperture, if you have a look at the aperture of the actually entry, it's only a little bit narrower up the front here. Doesn't make my 190 centimeters of legs any less tangled, but nah, it's in. Happy enough. The front diffuser, I'm probably not going to take this off for this video. I can take off the front shell, and this diffuser is another thing that I've made for myself. You can get your full weight on it. I can jump up and down on this, and that's all tied into the front box along with some tension rods which are tied back to the front of the actual aluminium chassis. front wheels, I think, are a 8-inch DTS rim. Originally, I think the guys in Germany loved these wheels, and these would normally be used as the rear wheel on a standard body car. Running these with a 235 rubber on the front with a 10mm spacer. And 10mm spacer in there. I think I'm going to have some arch rubbing problems. Wait and see how that all pans out. I still need to mount this body a little bit further away. This isn't fixed and finished yet, and that will give me a couple of extra millimeters of steering lock before we get tire scrub on the arch rim. We'll see how that goes. I guess that's what it looks like at the moment. Doesn't run. We'll get there.